How's it going, traders? It's the Pup of Wall Street back with another weekend review. Today we're going to look at my top sectors going into next week. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel below. These two actions will help more people see my work. Also, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you know when my videos come out. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about these chart videos. And lastly, keep in mind, this is not financial advice. I'm doing this for educational purposes only. So let's dig into these charts. First up, we have the Dow Jones Industrial Average, DIA. You can see we came into my target zone here about 5 weeks ago, and we started to bounce. We hit this COVID low anchored VWAP, and now we're seeing resistance on it. So very simple. If we break back above that, we should see a move up to the 50 simple moving average. If we fail, we should see a move back down to the 200 simple moving average. Next up is SPY. Let me zoom in a bit here so you don't see so much clutter. And on SPY, you can see here that we lost the trend line for 1 week about 5 weeks ago. And then we bounced here, came back through the COVID low anchored VWAP, failed at it again 3 weeks ago, then broke back above it. And now we closed back above it this week with a long-tailed hammer here. So really simple, move over 390 and we should see a move back up to 400. But if we continue to fail at this level, we should see a move back down to 379 and potentially down to the lows. Keep in mind, we do have earnings, a lot of earnings starting this week coming, so it should be a very interesting next couple of weeks. Next up, we have the Qs. So we have an inside week this week, but again, continuing to fail at 294. Ideally, I want to see move through 295, then we should see 300, potentially up to 302, and then 309 to the upside. We have been closing over the 2018 swing low anchored VWAP for the last 4 weeks. If we continue to hold there, we should test the COVID low in time. Next up is IWM. These are your small caps. For the last 5 weeks, we've been closing underneath the 200 SMA. 2 weeks prior to this past week, we wicked into it and failed. We did put an inside week here. In the last 4 weeks, we've been holding over the 50% retrace at 170.13. What I'd be watching for is a weekly close through the 200 SMA. Then we could see a move potentially back up to the 187 region. Here's the dollar index. This week, we did find parity with the euro, a 1-to-1. That hasn't happened in the last 20 years. And so, yeah, the dollar's just been really strong. This move through 103.81, very big move for the last 3 weeks, right into 108.166. You could see we wicked right into that 1272 Fibonacci extension level. This is generally bad for stocks. So let's see if we see more resistance on this 108.16 level this coming week. And if we do, maybe we see a little bit of a retracement down. But if we continue to hold here and we break out, then we potentially could see a bigger move up to 113.58. Next up are the semiconductors. This is SMH. They've been showing some relative weakness to the market, but this week, or this past week, I think Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, definitely showing a lot more strength. And as you could see, there's no wick here on the top. That means we closed at the top of the range for the week. So for me, semiconductors are going to be my top watch going into next week. I'm looking at NVIDIA, but mostly AMD. I think AMD will be my #1 watch for next week. You can see we bounced off of the bottom of this channel. We didn't quite test that 200 SMA, but let's see if we can get up over 217.63 on SMH this week. Next up is XLV. This is healthcare. I haven't really talked too much about healthcare. We talked about biotech, but we haven't really talked about healthcare. You can see I just dropped a swing low anchored VWAP here right on the COVID lows. And 5 weeks ago, we tapped that COVID low and beautiful bounce here. So we did come into the 50 simple moving average over the last 2 weeks, and we've been seeing some resistance off that level. If we break through that level, then a potential move back to the highs could come. But if we see resistance again for the next few weeks off that 50 simple moving average, then we could see a move back down to this orange band and then potentially back to that COVID low anchored VWAP. Next up is XBI. These are your biotech names. This sector has definitely been strong for the last 4 to 5 weeks. You could see, if I zoom out a bit here, right there, you can see this level, 64.43, support, support, and once again, support. And so if you caught that bottom, you're seeing a nice move back higher. Now, my first area to watch is going to be this anchored VWAP, which is tagged right to our prior swing high. If we could break through there, we've got a cluster of potential resistance area of interest coming up here. This is your 200 simple moving average, your 50 simple moving average, and your all-time high swing high anchored VWAP. So those would be the areas that I would watch. Next up is gold. You can see gold has come back into this 157 region, which has acted as prior support in the past. So if we see a move back off of this level, then I think we could trade this back up to the 50 simple moving average. But watch, if we do lose this level, we have the 200 simple moving average right underneath. We could also bounce there, but also watch for this level to fail. And if we do fail, potential move down to these lows right here from back in 2020. And last but not least, this is KWEB. These are your Chinese stock names, definitely showing a lot more favor in the last 2 months. Last 3 weeks, we've been consolidating, but you have to expect that after seeing a nice 7-week run. We did catch some bullish RSI divergence here, which signaled that run, and then we hit 34.42, and that's where we started to retrace. Now, you notice this last week's candle, we did bounce off of the trend line. So the other thing I'm watching is this 3-dot TTM squeeze setup. So watch for potential support off of this level. Watch for a retrace back up to 31.47, then potentially back to 34.42. If we can do this over the next couple of weeks and we continue to set this squeeze up and break over 34.42, we could see a move up to the 50 simple moving average and then potentially back up to that 200 simple moving average here. So those are my sectors, my top sectors on watch for next week. Hope you found some value in this video. And if you did, please hit that like button below. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, I'd love to have you. And if you have any questions, please leave them down below. And please have a good weekend and a safe week. We have big earnings coming up this week, big earnings coming up the week after that. So be very careful these next 2 weeks. Market could see some volatility. Have a good one.